There we go. I think on last week's calls, we went like down and up the triangle. I did it myself on the daytime call, and then Krista did it herself on the evening call. So before we get into like the next bout of material, really, do you guys have any questions for me about like your specific situation or about the triangle or like the material that we went over before I hop into kind of the next segment here of information? What do you think? I'll give you guys like 30 seconds to think of a question if you have anything. Cynthia, got a question?
Um,
Oh, there goes your microphone.
oh, okay. Okay.
There you are.
This is the first time I'm using it on my cell phone, so I've never used Zoom on my phone before. So I'm kind of trying
Okay,
to get used to the features here.
sure.
Um, I was watching the master class, and Miguel had the first video, and you had the second video on the very first day, day one. And you talked about there was a window of opportunity when to tell your system, your nervous system, that it's safe, and that you were going to expound on it. And I'm like, well, is there a time to actually tell yourself when you're safe or not? You know, when was the ideal time to do that? You kind of
Yeah,
mentioned it, you never really expounded on it.
yeah, no, that's a great question actually. Yeah, so when to really like hit it home that you're
Right.
safe. So there is like a golden window of opportunity. Let me let another person into the call here. They're in the waiting room. So here's the thing. When let me just first and foremost go over the reason why we tell ourselves that we're safe when we're feeling these symptoms in the first place. So the reason that this takes place is, well, first let me go ahead and tell you guys a little story for preface. All right. So Cynthia, you can just listen in because I know you're in the car. Um, we actually have an individual. He's a thriver in the main program who had a near death experience. Um, do you guys know what? So there's rip currents, right? And then there's like undercurrents when it comes to water. And it's really dangerous when you get caught in that undercurrent because you can literally just like spin under that water. There's pretty much like a saying of like if you get caught in that specific situation, say your prayers because you're pretty much done. You're pretty much so. I had an individual um, in the program actually go through that exact experience. And he remembers having a NDE, which is short for like a near death experience. This is when your body is pretty much accepting its fate that you are going to die. And he says, Junior, I remember the exact sensation that I felt in my body when I was, when I felt like I was going to die. So, like he said, I felt like I had the inability to move. Like I felt all the energy, like on a cellular level, like leave my body. I was so unbelievably fatigued, and my brain started fogging up. And it was obviously it was hard to breathe, and I felt like my chest tighten and stuff like that. And he's in the program years later, and he says how I know it's a nervous because he was so sure of it too, right? He was like, how I'm so sure that this CFS is just an inappropriate danger response by my body is because when I do too much or I go out of my comfort zone a little bit, I have that same exact experience that I did in the water. Um, just I'm not in the water, but and he's like, that's how I knew my body was having like the ultimate danger response, essentially. Um, and so that's kind of how he knew it was a danger response from the body. So, and here's the thing That's what your guys' adjustment periods technically are. When you're flaring up, what your brain and your body is doing is it's sending signals to your physical body to have that reaction as if there's like a tiger like literally right in front of you, or like a bear has you like pinned up against the wall. If you had a bear or like something extremely scary and you're like seconds away from death pinned like up against the wall, you would feel that way, but you wouldn't question it because it makes sense to feel that way, right? In that exact situation. Here's where people get scared. We feel that way at home. That's not supposed to happen. So it's an inappropriate danger response, which means when the body is signaling danger and there's clearly not danger, we need to tell the brain that the danger is not there. And the golden window to do it is when you are in danger, aka the moment you are flaring up or the adjustment period hits. And the adjustment period or the flare up, aka the danger response, could hit immediately right after you do the activity, or it could be delayed by 24 to 48 hours. Whenever it hits, whenever your body goes into that mode where you start feeling symptoms and the anxiety or whatever your freeze mode response is to you, that's the moment you need to elicit the response of, okay, there's no danger here, and I'll show you that there's no danger here by using the emotions. So that's your golden window, is when you're flaring up. You actually cannot rewire your brain when you're out of an adjustment period and you're not flaring up. A lot of people get it confused, and they think progress is when their adjustment period ends. That's technically not the case. The only time you actually make progress is when two things happen at the same time. Is when you're in an adjustment period flaring up and when you're responding well to it at the same exact time. That's literally the only way you can make progress. Now, I'm not asking you guys to be in that state all the time because you can't. But I just want you guys to like reframe your way of thinking. If you're afraid of adjustment periods, you're afraid of progress. You're afraid of getting well. So it's not something to be avoided. But yeah, to answer that question, Cynthia, your golden window is that time where two things happen at the same time, where you have to feel the symptoms and then you have to respond well to the symptoms. Here's the catch, and here's why it's so difficult. Because when your symptoms flare up, your mindset tanks completely. That's why it's so difficult to do that. So it's such a ridiculous ask, right? For me as a coach to be like, hey, I know you feel like crap right now. And right now, you need to elicit emotions that are not angry or frustrated or bothered or upset. That's freaking ridiculous. You know what I mean? It sounds almost inhumane at some point, but it sounds like that if you don't have the understanding of what's going on. Now that we understand that, okay, I feel like this because my body's having a danger response, in order for myself to tell my brain, hey, we shouldn't be having this at this time, I need to tell my brain we're okay whilst I feel uncomfortable, with my flare up. That's your golden window right there. So that's the thing that really gave me a lot of peace too, understanding that. Does that make sense, Cynthia?
Yes, thank you. So what are some of the what words that you would use just telling yourself, I'm safe, there's no danger, etc.?
Mm-hmm. So here's the thing about words, and I say this a lot in the program. Words are just words. They actually cannot make much difference if they're not used to elicit the proper emotions. Words are literally just a tool to elicit a specific emotion, and the emotion is relief and the emotion is safety and calm. So I don't care what you tell yourself. I'm safe, I'm chocolate, I'm whatever. Say whatever you want to say. It doesn't have to be I'm safe. It needs to elicit the emotion of relief and calm and happy. So like I don't know, if you're in a flare up and whatever words make you feel like that, maybe if you utter the phrase mom I love you and it makes you feel like that, then keep saying that when you're in a flare up. But words are only half the battle. Words are like the bridge to actually elicit a specific emotion. Um, so it's not just specific word choice, it's really the emotions that the words elicit is really important. Say whatever you want. You could literally say, I'm in danger. And if that makes you feel safe, you'll heal by saying that. You know what I mean? So I hope that makes sense. For me specifically, I kept it really simple. Uh, I just said it's just my nervous system. It's just an inappropriate danger response. I'm not even supposed to be having this right now. There's not even a bear around me, and I just talk some logic into myself, and that's really it. That's that's literally the phrase that gave me the most relief. So maybe it's your doctor telling you, "Hey, there's nothing wrong with you," and all of a sudden you feel so much better than when you came into the hospital. It's because he or she elicited that sense of relief in you. I've literally had that exact experience. So, yeah, it's not really more the words, it's the emotions. And whatever you can do to elicit that emotion, do that. So, Maria, did you have a follow up or do you want to chime in on this?
No, yeah, I have a follow-up from what you're saying. So,
Sure.
words, we can use words to elicit safety emotions,
Mm.
to signal our brains or amygdala that we're safe and that it's just overreacting, basically. What about other techniques? Because I've found for me, when in a flare-up, I use binaural beats and a specific one that I found on YouTube that it's free, that it's for calming the amygdala. And I was like, at first I was like, okay, let's give it a try to see if it works. And it
Mm.
actually has worked for me when in adjustment periods. And then I just accompany that sound with positive thinkings, like I'm safe and whatever I want to say in the moment. So music would be another way, or maybe there's people engaging in laughter yoga that I just found out a few months ago. And I
Mm.
tried it. At first, it was ridiculous, but now it seems like it helps. It really helps to. And I just shared on this morning's call that I woke up with a terrible headache and I've been having rotating symptoms for the past week, but I've been responding like this. So my brain keeps on changing. And today I was like, okay, I'm going to rest. You want me to rest? I'm going to rest. But I woke up and I felt really sad, like this intense sadness. And I
Mm.
reacted with frustration because I knew that the sadness was not real sadness. Well,
Hmm.
it was real, but it wasn't mine.
Yeah,
It was a symptom.
of course.
So I reacted badly, and then I remember, oh, this is a symptom. I'm sad, and I also have a headache. Okay, I'm going to rest, whatever. And then I just did that. I did a little bit of laughter yoga, a little bit of meditation, a little bit of the binaural beats, and now my mood. I still have the headache, but my mood is not like the emotional side is neutral or not as bad as in the morning. So I
Hmm.
think words and other things that we can use. I don't know if you guys teach that, but I found for me it works more than words, music, or any other thing that is more somatic. It works better for me.
Hmm.
I don't know if you have an opinion on that. Like I know it's different for everyone.
Yeah, no, that's it's a really good point. At a certain stage in recovery, when you're not like sensitive to like a lot of stimulation, music would definitely help an individual. Laughter would definitely help. I do remember very specifically, every time I would go into an adjustment period, I would like make it a point to like watch stuff that like made me laugh really hard, or something just to get me in really high spirits. And I purposefully did that. You know why? Because people don't laugh when they're in danger and about to die. That just it doesn't happen. Or people don't feel calm or like happy or like chill or relaxed when they're about to die. So what are you doing in that exact moment is you're telling your brain, because your brain's like, oh god, there's danger, like flare them up. And then when you're laughing, the brain's like, wait, why? Why are you doing that, bro? Oh, you know what? Is there danger? People don't laugh when there's danger. And then your brain like kind of gets confused and it like kind of like calms it down a little bit. It's like, I don't, there's like a 50-50 shot this dude's actually in danger. He's actually like insane, or he's actually in danger, or maybe he's actually safe after all. And maybe I'm just doing the wrong thing by giving him these symptoms. And you do it enough because your brain likes routine and it likes consistency. You do that enough, and your brain starts taking the hint and going, yeah, I really don't think this person's in danger. I've been doing this now for like months, and he just keeps laughing and he just keeps chilling. Yeah, I think something's wrong here. I think I should like stop giving him the symptoms. And like that's literally how recovery works over time. It's slow. Your brain takes a little bit of time to catch on, because not only does it need to believe it through consistency, it needs a lot of convincing, especially when it comes to life-threatening danger, which it thinks that you're in. In order for it to believe that you're not in life-threatening danger, it takes a lot of convincing, because your nervous system's like main job is to keep you alive. So it really, really needs to believe you. So yeah, that's kind of how you do that. And you know what's funny? Your brain throws so many tests at you to make sure that you're really, really, really not in danger. Because like I said, it's main priority to keep you alive. So, okay, maybe this dude's like putting on a front and he's putting on an act. And maybe he actually is in danger. Here's what I'll do. I'll change his symptoms. And that's what happens. As you make progress, I want you to think of progress as like a wheel moving forward, test after test after test after test. And you'll go through like quite literally hundreds of tests, because your brain just needs to make extra sure that you're really not going to die before it lays off. So you could have headaches and sadness, and then you respond well to that. And then you say, okay, I think I got a handle on that. And then you get a new random symptom out of the blue. And then you start to freak out and be like, okay, but is this CFS? Is this my nervous system? Hint, hint, it probably is. If you've been making progress and all of a sudden your symptoms shift, then you get a hold of that for a few weeks or maybe a couple months, and then your symptoms start to shift again. That's how it worked for me. I switched from nausea to headaches to dizziness to like goosebumps all over my skin, to then all of a sudden randomly the fatigue kicked in so bad to where at random points during the day I literally felt like I was drugged or like sedated for like a few hours at a time. And then I like responded well to that. Then I started getting stomach issues and gut issues, and then I responded well to that. Here's why recovery is pretty difficult for a lot of people. All those rotating symptoms I just mentioned, there's a lot of us here that probably are terrified of at least one of those things. Maybe you're not scared of your headaches. Maybe you're not scared of the shortness of breath. Maybe you're not scared of the pain, because you used to take pain really well before you got sick. But all of a sudden you start getting dizzy and you don't like how that feels. And then you start getting scared. And then that's the thing that holds you back and go, oh God, I don't know about this dizziness. I'm afraid to pass out. And maybe that's the one in recovery that takes you a little longer to handle. Maybe you're afraid of your heart rate and you don't like it going over a certain BPM, and then you start freaking out. There you go. That's your roadblock symptom right there. So, and it's different for everybody. So what were my roadblock symptoms? Dizziness was one of my roadblock symptoms. I was terrified of passing out in public, until one day, I don't recommend this, by the way, y'all didn't hear this from me, but one day I was just like, screw it, and I was really dizzy walking around a store. I put my groceries down on the side of the aisle, and I told my girlfriend, I was like, if I fall over, just pick me up. And I just started spinning in the aisle like a crazy person. I was like, you can't control me, you can't make me dizzy if I make myself dizzy first. So, And that signaled to my brain, oh man, I can't use that test on him anymore. He's not afraid of that anymore. And literally the next day, dizziness stopped and I got nausea. And I hate the feeling of throwing up. And I always did. So then that one stuck with me. So instead of walking far and feeling fatigued, or walking far and feeling dizzy, I'd walk far and then all of a sudden I'd get really nauseous. Um, Man, wild brain. Genuinely. What an experience I had with this illness. It's like the craziest thing I've ever gone through. But looking back in retrospect, it's probably one of the coolest things I've ever went through as well, because it really showed how powerful my brain is. Yeah, it's pretty wild. So, Maria, do you want to add something?
Yeah, it seems like today I have a lot of questions. Sorry.
No.
So I wanted to ask Krista this morning, but I forgot actually. So with all these crazy symptoms that start rotating because you understand the theory, you apply it, and then you're responding kind of well to the symptoms that your brain's throwing at you. How do you know you're making progress, and how do you know when you actually like are recovered? I don't know, because recovery is it's so weird. It's progressive, so it's not, there's not a finish line and then everyone's waiting for you to tell you that you made it. It's like,
Yeah.
how do you really sure that you're making progress? Because right now I've been having rotating symptoms for I don't know how long. So actually, now that you mention it, since I stopped tracking my heartbeat, which was the one that I was the more scared about, like the POTS, I just took my watch off and now I do whatever I want around my house, and
Yeah.
I don't give it that much importance. So it started throwing me all these rotating symptoms: anxiety, migraines, tension, headaches. My eyes move weird when I'm overstimulated. I don't know, a bunch of them, and I don't know if that, like, everyone says, oh, that's a good sign, but I just feel like it's gonna keep on throwing me things and things until it gets tired, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, no, literally, that's it. It's just going to keep throwing stuff at you until you get tired. A good indicator of you making progress would be you responding well to these symptoms, and then they keep changing. Um, I'll get a little sciencey here to explain it to you guys. We're retraining the brain. We're rewiring the brain, right? I actually got to, there's a video of a brain and neuroplasticity taking place in kind of like a time lapse, which is cool. And you actually see the shape of the brain literally like changing over time as time goes on. And here's the thing: if the brain is the thing that controls your physical symptoms, and the brain is changing because you're making progress, that means your experience of the illness will change as well. So if you're doing all the right things, like responding well, not tracking your heart rate, giving yourself a lot of safety emotions, and then you notice your symptoms are changing or maybe even getting a little worse in the beginning, that's your cue to go, okay, my brain literally just changed. It just changed a little bit for the better. And now I have like this new experience of the illness essentially. And then it'll just keep changing until ultimately we get to your question of like, what does recovery look like? What's the definition of recovery? Because I feel like a lot of people dance around this. Recovery is being normal, essentially. You don't have any more limitations when it comes to the things that you used to struggle with. Like everything that you guys had before you got sick, you can have it back. The exercise, like the fast paced lifestyle, the traveling, the eating all the foods, working at a very high level, delegating work or running businesses or whatever you do at a very high level. You have all of that back, and the symptoms don't come back. Like there's nothing to moderate after you get well. Because, like we said, this is a temporary nervous system state that's just a bit confused right now of what's actually dangerous and what's not. Once you retrain the brain to what's actually dangerous and what's actually not, yeah, especially if you know all of the right things. Once you apply the proper principles, it's very almost impossible to get sick again. I've seen quite a few times where in the Facebook forums where people have recovered by accident, actually, where they're like, yeah, I got my life back and it was normal. Um, but then I had a really, really stressful event and then it like relapsed me. And I just kept stressing out and spiraling. And I don't know how I made it out last time, but it probably had something to do with my diet that I changed or whatever when I was recovering. I'm reading that. I was like, man, you had no idea how you got better because you got better by accident. That's why it wasn't sustainable in long term. So, but yeah, you guys can do pretty much anything you want when you're back to recovery. Well, I've seen in the just to give you guys like some insights of what we see in the program. I got a girl from completely bedbound. She's like partying like every week, like going to raves, like really, really hard. Um, we have other people that I got this dude back on roller coasters because he used to love theme parks and stuff like that. So he's doing that. We got another guy. His name's Colin. You might have seen his recovery interview on YouTube. We got him DJing sets again because he's a DJ and he's DJing for like 7-8 hours at a time, standing up at that turntable. I didn't even know people did that anymore, but hey, he loves it. So yeah, you can. Anything's on the table for you guys. Whatever you want, just be responsible. All right. So does that help, Maria? Does that clear up your
Yeah, because right now I'm really in the early stage of recovering. Like I'm still not venturing out my apartment, mostly because of fear, because I don't have fatigue. So basically I feel normal, just I have weird symptoms. And then when I crash hard. So I'm scared of those. I'm trying to not be scared of those. I'm working on my brain on that.
good?
But yeah, actually you answered my question. It's just that I'm about to start expanding activity. So not right now because I'm just telling my system like, okay, the headaches are okay. You can be fine with that. But soon enough, I'm going to be doing that. And I don't want to freak out if I don't know how or what to expect, right? So you explained it really well. Thank you.
Good. Happy to help, Maria. All right, perfect. Sonata, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. So I have a question.
Yeah.
How do we not have think about these symptoms all day long? So for me, it's like I have really, really high anxiety. I hate to even say it, but and it's constant. So it's like all day long. And I can't see, and I'm doing stuff, but like no matter, I play tennis today, but it's always in the back of my mind. Like I'm constantly thinking about this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what to do to like break that, and then obviously that stresses me out. So
Yeah. So how to get the symptoms and all this stuff out of your peripheral when trying to live life, right?
right.
So I don't want you guys to think that you can ignore the symptoms or really like pretend that they're not there. Because if you try that, you're just lying to yourself. You can't do it. Like you feel it. You know what I mean? That's like have you ever seen I don't know, like a dad at a birthday party sitting there with his legs crossed, like doing this, just trying to like sleep and take a nap. And then you have the kid like all up in his business going like, Dad, Dad, Dad. And the dad's just like being shaken, but he's trying to sleep, trying to pretend like the kid's not there. Like the kid's there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we don't actually teach you guys to ignore the kid or ignore the symptoms. It's more of like acknowledge that it's there. But the thing that we've been doing that we need to do differently is being okay with its existence for at least temporarily until this thing's over. Because the reason we're so frustrated is because number one, it's probably been a long time, and number two, we just want it to end now. So it's like,
Pretty
oh
much.
man, yeah, it's been 12
Pretty
years
much.
and I've
It's
had
like
this like,
well, for me it's been 5 months. It's so
yeah,
frustrating. And like
oh yeah,
my worst symptom right now is like constant shaking, kind of like what Miguel experienced, like the
mm,
constant shaking internally, externally. So It like
Yeah.
never stops, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Of course. So here's what you're gonna have to do, Sonata, and it's not gonna be easy because, like I said, who the hell can respond well to stress when you feel so uncomfortable, right?
Right.
But the understanding of it will reinforce the reason of why you do the things that you do. So you're shaking because your body is having a response or a reaction to danger. Now, notice I said keyword response and reaction, which means it's a byproduct of something. And that something is danger. Danger that clearly doesn't exist. You're sitting in your house. You know what I mean?
Right, I could be by myself and it's, you know,
And you
everybody's
have a
sleeping. I'm
danger.
by myself and I'm shaking. I'm like, what the
Yeah.
heck, you know?
Yeah. So you're literally sitting there in your house. There's no bear in your
Yeah.
room. You got no ghosts in your house, but your brain is just like danger, 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 danger. But logically, because there's a logical part of your brain that's like, where? Where is it? Like,
I
why are
know.
we shaking? It's not here. And that's the emotion that we should elicit, but like in a nicer way, in a gentler way. And so instead of the like frustrated, like, where is it? Like, stop shaking. It's more so like, okay, this is how people act when they're safe. It's fine, not a big deal. I'm just gonna, you know, just gonna relax, no problem. Like, there's no danger. It's okay. Like, we're just gonna ride this out. It's not a big deal.
Mhm.
Because when you behave like that, that signals to the brain, like it's a subtle change in your reaction, but to your brain, it makes all the difference. Like, your brain listens for the subtle cues and even tone of your voice and how you speak to yourself. Because if I say, Sonata, you're gonna recover, or if I say, Sonata, you're gonna recover, like, it's such a subtle shift in tone, but it's interpreted in such a totally different way to your brain when I just said those two. So
But I'm
just
also dealing with a lot of intrusive thoughts too. So it's like,
there you go. Yeah.
it's just one of those things, you know?
Yeah. So I know it's a lot. So now I'm not going to discredit what you're going through because I've been through that. It sucks. Like, I'm just gonna
It
be straight
does.
up. Like, it's not
Well,
fun.
you know, and I have kids too, and it's like there's just so much going on. And I know I'm like hard on myself too because of that, because I'm like, I can't really
Don't be so
do
hard on
stuff with,
yourself.
I know, but
Yeah.
still. And like
So,
it's
well, something I want to tell you, Sonata, and everybody here, it's not your fault that you're sick. And don't you dare think for a second that it is your fault.
well, no, it's not, but it was all a panic attack that started this whole freaking mess
Yeah.
for me.
But here's the thing, life happens to
Yeah.
all of us. If it was our choice, we wouldn't have this. But I mean, sometimes people go through things that they shouldn't have to, you know? And that's all of us, whether it's a trauma or maybe you get a virus or maybe it's epigenetic. And the
Yeah.
people that came before you didn't respond well, so you didn't really have a fair spot in the starting line of life when it came to how resilient your nervous system was. So you're just more susceptible to, if you were to get a virus, your nervous system becoming hypersensitive a little faster than somebody else's. It's not your fault, Sonata, but just because it's not your fault, it doesn't mean that it is not your responsibility at the moment.
Yeah, I know it
Um,
is. And I'm trying everything. And the thing is, like, there's so much information out there. And I also, you know, before this program, I looked into so many videos and I think I
oh
just
my
put so
God, me
much in my
too.
head too.
Me too.
It didn't help. It made it worse, you know?
I wish, like, I could take everything away that I learned before I joined this program. Cause I'm telling y'all, like, I did so much. Like, I took herbs. I did
Mhm.
this celery juice thing. I went all vegan and I ate like all fruit. I lost so much weight doing that. Somebody told me it was like my adrenals, and like if you eat the adrenals of like other animals, that
Oh
would
yeah.
help.
Yeah.
That didn't help me. Like, I thought I had parasites. Like, here's what I tell people in the program, like, guys, I know you spent a lot of money in the past, and I know you did a lot of stuff because you were desperate and you just wanted your life back and you're scared and you didn't know what was happening. Like, forgive yourself for what you did in survival mode. Like, genuinely, you didn't know any better. I didn't know any better. That's for sure. If I could have just come to the conclusion immediately that was the nervous system, great. I probably could have healed a lot faster. But here's the thing, there's a lot of people out there trying to sell you on stuff. Supplements, diets, their book. I'm here to tell y'all, you don't have to spend a dime to recover, like at all. Like you
No.
don't. Like
That's
you-
the thing. People read books and books, but they don't. I've read a lot of books, but it didn't do anything. You gotta, you know,
yeah.
sometimes you need people who've been through it to kind of. I've tried everything, acupuncture, chiropractic. Like you said,
Oh,
I was
yeah.
desperate. I was desperate.
We were all so desperate.
Yeah.
So,
And then like I was getting all these weird symptoms and I'm like, what is this? Oh my God, I think I have a brain tumor and this. So I just
oh, same.
more and
Same.
more fear. And even though I got my MRI back, I had a neurologist appointment today. She's like, everything looks perfect. I'm like, stop sending me danger now. Everything's fine. I'm healthy. Shut up.
I thought I had it all. Like I thought I had adrenal fatigue, H. pylori, parasites, the gut dysbiosis. Oh God, yeah. Looking back, man. And here's the we're not in the right state of mind because we're in survival mode. Because you're not thinking clearly.
If it was just the physical symptoms for me, like I could somehow manage, but it's like
Yeah.
I feel like the mental stuff is
Worse.
worse. It is.
Yeah, it
really
is.
Because you can't like your emotions. I'm just like 1 second I'm angry, the next second I'm crying, and I'm super irritable. Like, and then I'm just like, what the heck am I doing?
Yeah. So
Sometimes I feel like I'm just running in circles.
it's not your fault. It's not. It's just a byproduct of the nervous system. You know what to do. You're not going to do it perfect in the beginning, but we chip away at it little by little,
Mhm.
and you get good. This is one of those things where you get good at it. You're not like good out of the gate. Whenever I have a thriver in the program that's like, yeah, I responded 100% well to my first adjustment period, I always come back and say, you lied to me. That's not how this works. That's like saying you just went for a surf and you just hit a huge wave and you surfed it perfectly and came back unscathed. That doesn't happen if you've never surfed ever in your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I have
all
one
right.
more question.
Okay.
Panic attacks. Like, so how sometimes I wake up at 4 a.m. and like my heart's racing. I
Mhm.
don't freak out anymore. I just kind of like, I lay there and I'm like, okay, like be as long as you want. You're gonna
Mhm.
stop at some point. But I'm being impatient. It's been going on for a while and it's still like, it doesn't stop. You know what I mean?
Like I
I'm like,
said.
it's 4 a.m. What danger is there now? I'm like, what the hell? I'm sleeping.
And that's the thing. Now that you have this information and you know you're waking up to a danger response, and I'll tell you why that happens, is because if there was a tiger in your house, which I know there isn't, or I hope there isn't at least, if there's a tiger walking around your house and all your doors are open, the moment you wake up, your body doesn't want you to be asleep in the first place anyway. So by the time you wake up, you have to wake up and like fight yourself and prepare for the tiger that's in your house, but it's not there.
I
It doesn't
know.
exist. So you have to tell it and be like, dude, like stop. Like it's
I'm just
not.
gonna start laughing from now on. Every time that happens, I'm just gonna laugh.
That's literally that's what I used to do. I
That
used
was
to
my
just
question. How did you handle, like
yeah, no,
that?
literally I would talk out loud to myself because when you talk out loud, your logical brain actually kicks in. I don't know why that happens because I'm not a scientist, but if you talk out loud to yourself, your logic actually starts coming back for whatever reason. So I would wake up, my heart would be like beating out of my chest. I'd have to change my shirt because now I'm covered in sweat. And like, here's the thing, I don't know if I probably did have like mild POTS symptoms while I was having panic attacks because when I sat up, like the heart palpitations got worse and I started getting like really dizzy. But I would literally tell myself, like, okay, okay, Tiger, there's something here, huh? All right.
Where
Well,
are
maybe
you?
it's on
Come
the other
on
side of
out.
that mountain.
Yeah.
Literally, I would say that. When you elicit, because when I would say that, it would elicit the emotions of like, okay, whatever. You have to kind of, because Miguel taught me to treat those things like the boy who cried wolf. That's literally your nervous system right now. Of like you're waking up and just like danger, 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 and you're just looking around like, bro, where? Like it's
Yeah.
not
I'm gonna
there.
start looking through all the rooms, like, where are
Yeah.
you? Come
Where,
on.
man? Where? So, but yeah, thanks for asking that,
No
Sanana.
problem. That's, what I'm going through right now. So
Yeah. Good, good. Good question. Good
thank you
question.
so much.
Of course. Of
All
course.
right.
Tamara, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Is that how I say your name?
Mara. But yeah.
Tamara? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so I guess over the last week or so I've sort of started transitioning back into work like really low hours.
Hmm.
But I guess I was wondering if you had any advice for people going through this stage.
Yeah. Really reintegrating back to work. What are you back? 2 hours a day?
I'm doing 4 hours 3 times a week.
Hmm. Okay. That's a pretty good chunk of work right there. Yeah. 4 hours, 3 times. Okay, cool. So for that, what is it like in-person work or remote?
No, it's work from home, so
Okay.
and it's flexible, so I can take breaks when I need to as well.
Do screens bother you at all? No? Okay. So it's not really one of the things that really riles up your nervous system.
No,
Okay.
not anymore. Videos used to, but not anymore.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So when it comes to returning back to work, how I used to do it was I went back for 2 hours a day. And I would do it 2 times a week, right? And then after that, I would kind of get accustomed to that for a couple months until I was comfortable. Because it's not only an aspect of can you handle it, but like mentally, are you ready to take the leap as well? You know what I mean? So I want you to get comfortable with your current schedule before you can say, all right, let me tack on work at the next level. But you need to be really careful and make it very clear with your employer and your boss of like, hey, like this is sustainable for me right now. I'm going to ask to pile on work, but let's do it as a trial because if it's a little too much for me, don't be surprised if I ask for you to take this work back. But I'd be happy to help. It's just right now I need to test my limits to see if I'm ready. I feel like I'm ready, but and just really be clear and communicate that with your employer what you feel like the next logical step is once you get comfortable in your current step. And I remember, yeah, when I was recovering, I did 2, and then I worked my way up to 4, and then I eventually went to full time, and it was remote, so I was like, oh, I could do this. That's cool. And then somebody mentioned, yeah, so we're flying all our employees out for a weekend to do like a get together, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I probably can't do that. Yeah, I probably can't. So, like one step at a time, for sure. Does that help?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's good advice to sort of
Okay.
go on.
Do you need any more specifics, like to your situation, or?
Um, well, it like at the moment I don't have a role. I've returned to the old job, but
Okay.
I can't go back to the old role. So I'm like sort of in that limbo, just doing sort of training. So I
Okay.
haven't hit any stress or anything like that yet
Yeah.
of trying to learn a new role. So I'm sort of still like I'm okay so far, but
Yeah. So watch out for the stressors. When you start feeling overwhelmed, um, take a bathroom break, which is literally like close your laptop and walk away and go for a little walk or something, or get some fresh air or something like that. There's nothing worse than like being in front of a computer for an extended period of time, especially doing a job that like bores the hell out of you. You know what I mean? If you like your work, great. It will actually keep you engaged, and if you don't have a problem with screens, it might take your mind off of symptoms for a little while. So it might be good for you if it's rewarding work. But yeah, pace it very gently with work. And I know because the last thing I want is for you to like go into work super hardcore and like overdo it and then burn out because it's a sense of income as well. Like poverty's a thing. Like I don't want you guys to like go broke as well. So, but yeah, one step at a time. I think you got this, Tamara.
yeah,
Yeah, I think you got it.
thank
All
you.
right. Yeah. Let me know next week or the week afterwards how it's going.
Yeah,
For sure.
will do.
Cool. Cool. All right. So Luke, I'll go to you and then we'll loop back to Sonata. But how's it going, Luke?
Hey mate, you said before that the brain doesn't want us to go to sleep. Is that because it doesn't feel safe?
Yeah, pretty much. Like if you and I were walking through the forest, um, and we heard like growling, and you came to me and said, "All right, man, well, I'm gonna take a nap right now." I'll be like, "Dude, this is not the time to take a nap. Like we got to get to a safe place, and then it'll probably be appropriate for sleep, but not right now." And that's the way your brain thinks, like in this current situation too. So if you suffer from insomnia, that's the reason why. It's also the reason why, if it bothers you that you can't sleep, you will further prolong your inability to sleep because being bothered, being upset, being frustrated, being angry is a danger response symptom. So you're further reinforcing the danger response, which will then really not allow your body to sleep. So it's actually opposite day when it comes to approaching the sleep symptom, which is stop caring that you're not getting enough sleep, and sleep actually comes quicker to you. Does that make sense, Luke?
Yeah, 100%. I think that was the biggest thing setting me back. Like, I believe that if I didn't get 8 hours sleep, I would wake up in pain because that's what I attributed it to.
Mm-hmm.
And so like that would stress me out even more. Even happened in an adjustment period a couple of days ago. Because I woke up and felt stiff, I put it to like a lack of sleep, and then it would spiral from there. So it makes a
Mm-hmm.
lot of sense.
Yeah, and this is where I get like kind of annoyed because you go to like CFS videos, right? Or like just recovery videos in general, and they're like, yeah, the top pillars of recovery. Number one, sleep. And I'm like, oh God, like they're gonna like stress all these people out of like trying to get sleep, and then they're not gonna get sleep and they're not gonna know why. So, like, sleep is beneficial for recovery, it is, but how you get to sleep, nobody tells you. And it's by taking the pressure off of not being able to sleep. So if you can't sleep for a night, or if you're not sleeping at the time that you want, or maybe you're waking up and realizing you didn't sleep enough hours as you expected, take the pressure off. Doesn't matter. Like, you'll eventually get that sleep back, but don't be like, oh, I only slept 4 hours. I'm supposed to sleep 7, or like, I can't fall asleep at this point. Take that pressure off and just be like, I can't sleep. I can't sleep. Or you woke up, all right, I got 4 hours. Whatever. Maybe it'll be better next week. You really have to undertake that type of personality if you want that sleep to come back. So, hope that helps, man.
Yeah, that's like what happened. Like I've kind of stubbornly still worked through all of this, and like I would believe if I didn't have a good night's sleep, my whole day would be a write-off. But there was days when I had to go to work anyway, and it wasn't actually so bad, and it started kind of like getting through that false belief system.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So, you know what to do, but I don't want you guys to write your days off because you had crap sleep. You'd be surprised how much the body can operate off of very little sleep. You know what I mean? But it's really the ideology behind, like, oh yeah, you slept for 4 hours instead of 7. Don't do anything today. That's not necessarily the case. So, but yeah, good points, Luke. Good points for sure. Thanks for asking that, man. Yeah. Let's loop back to Sonata. Oh,
I
Sonata,
think
did you?
she just never like,
She just never put her hand down?
yeah, no.
Okay, that's cool. What's up, Paul?
Sorry.
That's okay.
So I guess I was going to ask, as far we talked a little bit this morning regarding the pendulum theory. At least I brought that up,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess I'm semi-functional most of the time, obviously. But the one thing that I do feel after watching that video a couple, 3 times is that my baseline has shifted. Of course, it's not that blue neutral in the middle;
Mm-hmm.
it's shifted up. So again, I feel symptoms every day. They
Sure.
just never go away, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that will come down in due time, correct? I mean, there's nothing
Correct.
really that I can do about it other than just don't care about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If you pace yourself effectively, um, yeah, and you just really don't give the symptoms the time of day emotionally, yeah, it'll all even out over time. I don't want you guys in this call to get confused of like just don't care about your symptoms and go live life.
Right.
That's how you get in a lot of trouble. Effective physical pacing is really important too. But yeah, Paul, correct.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right. Does anybody have anything else? If not, Cynthia, hey, how are you?
Hi. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about hyperness, because that seems to be one of my main symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
I get so, it's like I want to rush into a million different places at once. It's like my mind's on ice. It's not gripping anything. I think like I suppose too fast. So basically the only thing I can do is just sit, because the more active I am, it's like gasoline to the fire. As soon as I'm active and I get up and move, I'm a maniac. I have to just sit there and try to calm myself down, to slow myself down, because I'm so wound up. Does that
Mm-hmm.
make any sense?
Of course it makes sense.
And
Yeah.
I don't know what else to do but to sit there. I don't know how else to handle it.
Yeah. No, that's a really good question because that's actually a nervous system state that's very often not talked about that can get mistaken for like a diagnosis. That's the thing. Because for me, um, Miguel too, actually, me and Miguel both, we have that thing where once we get started, um, you can't stop. And the nervous system is when it's regulated is supposed to be good at like winding down and stopping appropriately when it's time. So for you, Cynthia, how I would approach that is if you notice yourself going, right? And like you said, the more you go, it's like gasoline on the fire. Um, I need you to kind of hit the brakes when you start feeling that like I can't stop. And you might need some external reassurance from that. Like maybe someone around you or something can be like, all right, chill out. Or if you want, this might sound a little crazy, but I actually did this too to help because I had hyperness and I had ADHD actually, so it was like really difficult for me to stop stuff. I would set a timer for like every 5 to 10 minutes, and when that timer would go off, I would literally force myself to like stop doing what I'm doing, take a breather for 30 minutes, and then I would go again. Um, but as I was going, I would do the timer thing again. So it was like it was an external tool, but it was really helpful to train my brain in the beginning when I needed that extra assistance. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Because that's basically what I have to do. I just have to sit and tell myself stop and just sit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's frustrating because when you hear of other people who are like bedbound and they're trying to do stuff, it's like, well, I can do stuff, but now I have to force myself to sit and
Mhm.
just do nothing. It's so kind of opposite sometimes of the stories that I'm hearing.
No, you're
Um,
not. You're not opposite. You're just in a different part of the triangle. Actually, everyone's gonna go through this part of the triangle, believe it or not, and it's the part where you can't stay still, and you always have to be doing something, in order to keep yourself busy. And like you're talking faster, and like you have to watch YouTube videos while you eat, and like you're like for me when I remember I was in that stage, I was like brushing the teeth and then I had like one foot open on the door to let the dog out, and then I was like cleaning the dish with like the other hand. So it's a
yeah,
nervous system state for sure.
okay. I'll bounce back. I mean, I'll have flare-ups and extreme fatigue and I can't move and and
Hmm.
all the buzzing and all the other symptoms, but it's like I bounce from having to lay on the couch for 3 hours. And then once I get I can move and start doing things and boom, it goes the opposite direction. It's like
Hmm.
one state or the other.
Yeah.
a lot of fatigue or being too hyper, one or the other.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a nervous system state. And eventually that'll regulate, but that is something that actually needs like consistent practice. So for you to actually even hone in on that skill of like forcing yourself to sit down and doing it successfully, if you do that constantly enough, that's a win because you're actually training your brain. Like that's your version of brain retraining right there is forcing yourself to sit down, you know?
Okay.
All right.
Okay. And so, well, and what's frustrating to me is like, because I have the opposite where I have true fatigue and I can't do anything and I'm not being hyper. And so then when I'm just have to lay there on the couch or my recliner. And then when I
Mhm.
come out of that and I can start doing something, well, then I still have to sit and not do anything because I'm being so hyper,
Mhm.
so it's like, it's kind of frustrating because I'm constantly in one state or the other. And it's still, I mean, I can do stuff. I can do stuff around the house and do little things, but it just kind of seems that way sometimes where I'm like always tired or telling myself I have to sit. I just want,
Yeah, it's two extremes. And here's
yeah,
the thing. Honestly, what it sounds like, your fatigue and your adjustment periods, it sounds like the brain is giving you a danger response, but it's not trying to protect you from a tiger. It's trying to protect you like from yourself. Because if you just kept going, like honestly, do you think you would ever stop if you kept having
right,
the energy?
right. I would just keep going, 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 going. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I said sitting down and forcing yourself when you don't want to sit down every now and then is retraining your brain because what you're doing is you're building trust back with your brain and your body saying, hey, you don't have to do this to me anymore. I'm not going to hurt myself by continuing to keep going. See, I can rest. See, brain, I can rest and I can do it on my own. I forced myself to sit down. You do that consistently, you build trust with the brain, and the brain's like, okay, all right, I don't have to force you to sit down. She's doing it herself. And that's why I said for you, your definition of brain retraining is you like voluntarily forcing yourself to sit down every now and then because you're building trust with your brain by doing that. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, of course. See you later, Luke. All right. Anything else that you guys want to talk about? What you think? Any questions for me? I'm gonna take a sip of water while you guys think. We can talk about responding well to symptoms. We can talk about some of the roadblocks and pitfalls that I see in
Yeah,
the
I
program.
wanted to ask you actually because it's really annoying when seeing recovery stories, and I got like after I got the like I got obsessed with reading like scientific paper in journals and about long COVID. And when I
Uh,
noticed that was not the route to go, and then switch like my focus to recovery, I obsessed with recovery stories. So I watch every single interview there's out there. And it was really frustrating that they never really talk about the process of recovery. And I know we have the blueprint and all the information from this program,
mhm.
but it still seems like people are just like really sick and then they're better. Like, and today I asked the same question to Krista and she explained a little bit about progress cycles and how you really are improving, but it takes time and it's not a straight line and all that. But how
Mhm.
was it for you? Like, how long did it take you? What were your roadblocks, or what do you see in other people? What are the things that could potentially um, get us stuck? Because we don't have one-on-one coaching, we only have this call, so we really need that information for us to be able to
Of
have
course.
awareness of the potential roadblocks that we will have to overcome them, I guess.
Of course. Yeah. So for me, timeline was about a year and a half for me to recover. But here's the thing. everyone's journey is different because everyone's nervous system is different because we all had different lives before we got sick, which means that it could be epigenetics could play a part in how fast your nervous system heals, trauma, what was the actual trigger that put your nervous system into this state. So, personality traits as well. So, for me, in my combination of all these things, a year and a half. For Krista, she healed much quicker than I think about 9 months. She was like able to get fully functional again. So everybody has a different timeline because everybody's nervous system is a little bit different. So I don't want you guys to compare and contrast of like this individual, recovered in like 5 minutes, and then this individual took like 2 years. Why is that? It's not necessarily that you guys could be doing something wrong. It's just maybe at the state that your nervous system heals and you're doing the best you can as well, but your nervous system can only go so fast. When it comes to roadblocks, here's what I see with roadblocks. So what could be some of the reasons why people aren't responding well to symptoms? I see a lot of active people or extreme athletes who used to be, very energetic, very active. So that's the part of their brains that used to light up before they got sick. Going into freeze mode, it's the thing that's the most dimmed down, so they have fatigue. Now, if fatigue's their main thing, but it's the thing that they want the most, how somebody could probably respond horribly to having a lot of fatigue is maybe they're grieving the fact that they can't do things anymore. The fact that they used to be an athlete and now everything that they tied their identity into, I'm Junior the Olympic athlete, I'm Junior the soccer player or whatever. You can't do that, so you almost lose a sense of identity in that grief, and that's a very powerful danger response emotion as well. Maybe people used energy to run away from something back at home. Maybe somebody was in an abusive relationship or had really toxic parents that used to fight all the time. And in order to get away from that, this individual would put on his jacket, his headphones, and go take out and go up for a night walk just to get away from all the screaming, or just to get away from their wife or their husband just yelling and throwing stuffs at them. So they would go to the gym to relieve the stress. People have some really hard lives that I've seen. And when you go into a state of freeze and you have fatigue, you have an individual who can't do that anymore. So now you're like trapped like a prisoner in your house, listening to your screaming parents or having to deal with your wife, and you can't run away. And now you're in like a constant danger response. I feel deeply for those individuals because that's a situation where it's rather difficult to give yourself safety emotions. Some other things, like some people's freeze response is not fatigue. Some people's freeze response is pain, right? I see it sometimes in the program where people have a lot of pain. I feel for a lot of these people too. It's easy to rewire pain. It is. It's genuinely easy to rewire pain if pain's not something that bothers you, if you don't have an association with pain. Like me. Before I got sick, I did have pain as a symptom. It didn't stick around too long. I didn't have any emotional association with pain, so I could rewire that one pretty quickly, hence why I didn't develop something like fibromyalgia. But for another person, pain could be their most prominent symptom, it could be their most debilitating symptom, and it could be their hardest symptom to rewire because maybe someone was beaten as a child and they don't want to feel pain anymore. Or, maybe they got jumped as a kid or beaten up often by like the kids at school and they don't want to feel that anymore. And every time they do feel that, it brings them back to that place and they have unresolved trauma. It's really hard to rewire that or give yourself safety emotions when there's emotional association with that, which is why I see a lot of people with fibromyalgia have a lot of trauma that's unresolved. There's a reason why that's a very common link. Other symptoms, like I said, it could be anything. You could be terrified of your heart rate. Maybe because you witnessed somebody have a heart attack right in front of you, and now you're terrified to have one too. So now every time you have heart palpitations, you're scared of it because you don't want the same thing happening to you. there's literally a million and one reasons why you can't respond well, but at the end of the day, it's our only choice. But when people get put in some rough situations like that, I have to be real. We got to be real with each other, guys. Like, we have to be honest. Like, take a look at your situation. Like, take a look at what you can and can't control, and like really tell yourself, like, am I in a good situation to heal? Do I have an unfair advantage? Or maybe are there some things about my environment or my surroundings right now that I can change, or that I need to change? I can't tell you to go live at a friend's place. I can't tell you to break up with him or her, or divorce him or her, or, I can't tell you to relocate to a different location. I just can't. Number one, I don't even have the heart to tell somebody that, honestly, but that's just real life. And then when it comes to my recovery and progress cycles and the process of how I actually did it, I'll show you, actually. I'll show you through a whiteboard. It's easier to visualize. Sonata, I see your hand up. I'm gonna call on you after this one, okay? But let me go ahead and share this. Or I'm gonna try to share this at least. Can y'all see my screen? Yeah? You see the whiteboard? Okay, cool. So I'm gonna kind of base it off like a graph, right? 2 graphs, actually. So we'll do the first graph here. And then we'll do the second graph here. Now, what an adjustment period looks like, or what it's traditionally taught that it's supposed to look like, is we're expanding activity, and then eventually your body hits a threshold, and then you start flaring up, and then your capacity drops. Your capacity is dropping because you're having a danger response. No problem, not a big deal. We're going to send safety emotions whilst we rest at the same time, respecting our dropped capacity. And then eventually, capacity is going to rise back up, and then you should be at a little bit of a higher level than before. And you kind of just continue that until recovery kind of looks like this. That's what we're traditionally taught. That's actually not how recovery looks from what I've found out. And I'll tell you why. In the last call that I was on, I talked about the stabilization phase. So what the stabilization phase is like your nervous system pretty much being like a construction worker. Before any type of capacity can increase at all, which means before you can do this, before it starts going in an upward trend, the foundation needs to be set first, which means your nervous system needs to see you at a stable enough place for this to take place first. So what's actually going to happen is you're going to go through adjustment periods, and then you're going to flare up, pull back, rest, respond well, feel better, go through another adjustment period, and you are going to realize very soon, after quite a few adjustment periods, I'm not making progress. I'm not making progress when it comes to my capacity. But here's the thing. In the beginning, I want you guys to look at your progress when it comes to your mindset. Because whilst it's doing this, your nervous system is going up in health secretly. But it's passing a certain threshold line. So what I mean by that is this line right here, the bottom, this is where stabilization takes place. Once it passes this line, this is where capacity increase takes place. So for example, this is what my recovery actually looked like. Hold on. Oh boy. I'm not good with this eraser. Okay. This is what my recovery actually looked like. Adjustment period, flare up, pull back. Adjustment period, flare up, pull back. Adjustment period, flare up, pull back. That's what it looked like. And this is my capacity. You notice after every adjustment period, it did not increase at all. But silently, my nervous system was stabilizing. And then eventually, it started doing this. Here's the thing. We're like fed this information of where we've been told traditionally that the process of recovery should look like this from the very beginning. That was not the case for me. The recovery process for me looked like this. So, and that's just like a general, like, I don't know, picture of it. Don't actually count those progress cycles. I probably went through like 20 or 30 like stabilization cycles before I actually started noticing my capacity was increasing. But all progress at the end of the day, even though you don't really see the progress taking place initially, because behind the scenes, your nervous system is stabilizing, then it passes a point, and then you start making progress. And for me, that took about 1.5 years in total for the stabilization and for the capacity increase until I fully got my life back. For some people, it could take quicker. 6 months, I've heard. That's really quick from what I've seen in the program. For some people who've been through a little bit more of stuff, because, you know, life's tough and we're only human, maybe 2.5 years. I'd rather somebody make slow and steady progress than stay stuck forever. Because the thing is, if you don't address this and you don't make progress and you don't go through this process, that's the scary part. You could stay in this forever. And that's more terrifying to me than the illness itself, or than the symptoms itself, if that makes sense. So does that help you, Maria?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's clear. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. If you need more
But
detail, just
what I got from this is the more trauma you have, the more difficult it is to heal. Did I pick that?
not necessarily, because I've seen thrivers in the program who have been through a lot. And for me too, I have a lot of unspeakable trauma that I would probably not want to talk about on this call, but let's just say it's pretty bad. But your nervous system kind of hits a certain point of like, you know, at a certain point of trauma, at a certain point of like how severe your illness is, and at a certain point of how long it is, once you pass that point, everyone's recovery kind of looks the same. So like if you're lucky, like if you're sick for like under 6 months, you can recover quite quickly. But if you have a lot of trauma, or if you've been sick for like over like a year or something like that, or if you've just been through a lot, regardless of how deep it goes, everyone still recovers at about like a year and a half to 2 years, like regardless of how deep it goes. So I don't want you to get discouraged, Maria, and say, "Oh man, I've been through so much. I have so much trauma. I got so much like skeletons in my closet. Like I'm never gonna recover. It's gonna take me too long." Not the case. Not the case. And I can attest to this from Krista as well. Krista has a lot of trauma that she's been through as well. And we all made it out on the other side. So you're gonna be okay. All right. Does that reassure you a little bit, Maria?
Yeah, totally. Thank you. I was like, oh no. Like
No.
it's gonna be harder, but no, okay. Perfect.
No, it's not
Just,
going to be harder. So
following the steps and just believing, I guess. Yeah.
yeah, you're very strong, Maria. Okay, I know you are. So, Sonata.
So my question is, like you said, we're all human, handling everyday stress and worries, like I think what did it for me, I had a death in the family in the middle of my journey, I should say. So how would you, like, what would be your advice on how to handle everyday stress, family members going through illnesses and this and that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
all that
So
stuff.
I don't want you guys to think that, because I hear this a lot in the recovery community of like, you have to eliminate all your stress to
I
recover.
think it's if we label something as bad, like if we label stress as bad, then you know what I mean? It's like
It's not
even
good for your
emotions,
nervous
right?
system.
Like
Yeah.
it's like everything should just be, I don't know. That's my biggest thing right now. I'm like so worried about, I mean, I was always like worried about stuff, but
Hmm.
especially right now in this state, I'm worried about everybody around me. Everybody. You know,
Yeah.
my son, like before he would have a cold and a little cough, I'm like, okay, here's some medicine. Now he's got a cough, he's sneezing. I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? You know,
Hmm.
because
Well,
everything is heightened in this state, you know what I
of
mean?
course. I mean,
Yeah.
you're aware,
Yeah.
Sonata, that you're heightened. That's like the first step is being aware of like ask yourself before if you didn't have a hypersensitive nervous system, would I be freaking out this hard? You know what I mean?
No, no, not at all.
Yeah.
At all. This is like not like me at all.
Exactly. So you're aware that it's because of your nervous system state, but now your question becomes, okay, yeah, it's my nervous system state. So how do I handle these everyday stressors that I used to handle in my new heightened nervous system state, right?
Right.
And so here's the thing. Because our nervous system is heightened, but we still have to continue with everyday life, because you can't eliminate all stress and just go into a turtle shell. That's just not realistic. Everybody has
Yeah.
stress in their life. Um,
And we got lives to live. We got things to
yeah,
do, you know what
no,
I
yeah,
mean?
for real. Yeah, I
Yeah.
get it. So for that, it's really, really, really working hard to be conscious of your response because we say this a lot in the program. Everybody has stress, but everybody has a choice on how you respond to that stress. So if you notice yourself freaking out and going into that sensitive nervous system state when your son comes around like, oh, I don't feel good, mom, instead of going, oh my God, what we're gonna do, catch yourself in that moment and go, oh my God, ho, I'm doing it. My nervous system's a little bit sensitive. Let me just take a deep breath. Let me just assess the situation logically. Let me respond as well as I possibly can whilst trying to keep it together.
Mhm.
And it takes practice. Like I said, Sonata, it takes a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
was,
practice to do that.
you know, I was always I, I'm gonna admit this, but I was always a very impatient person before. I feel like after this, I'm gonna be the most patient human being on this earth. I will never let anything bother me again. Like tornado goes by, I don't care. I don't care. I've learned
Yeah,
my lesson, that's for sure.
I get you. And like, it's easier to see it in retrospect, right? Like our bad
Yeah.
habits, our personality traits. Um,
It all comes to light now. Things
of
that, you know,
course, yeah, yeah. Now,
yeah,
right
now
now
I'm
that
like,
we're
oh
like
my God.
riddled with anxiety, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Uh,
I don't want you guys to think that CFS long COVID fibromyalgia is just panic disorder or it's just like anxiety disorder that's like heightened because there's levels to panic disorder and like anxiety and survival mode. Like you have fight or flight, you have anxiety, and then you have freeze mode, which is absolutely debilitating. There's
I had that back in June. I
yeah,
completely shut down. I was bedbound. I couldn't
yeah.
even lift my head off the pillow. And that lasted like 2 or 3 weeks. And then I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I like forced myself to get up and like get outside and just
Hmm.
watch my husband like mow the lawn, you know,
Yeah.
and
So
slowly, you know, got myself back up. But yeah.
yeah. I'll tell you something,
So
Sonata.
I'm definitely in the high end of anxiety. Like
The high end.
it literally feels like it's taking over my whole body.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
But you guys don't have to be like Gandhi or like monks in order to recover. That's another thing that I see online a lot of like people are like they got like flowers in their hair and they're doing all kinds of this and all kinds of this like on Instagram and social media and I was like, "Man, if I have to be like that to recover, I'm not going to make it. I'm just going to be honest. My personality is not built like that. And if I try to be like that, it'll just be disingenuous. I recovered being just like this.
Yeah.
Like it didn't change about me. So like the essence of you still stays. It's just you shed some of the personalities that were not ideal for you beforehand, like before you got sick. And the beautiful part about it is that you can go back to exactly how you were before you got sick and you'll be okay. But the thing is, you worked so damn hard to get to recovery and you already shed those personality traits. By the time you're on the other side, a lot of the time I see people go, "Oh, I'm not going back. I like how this feels. I don't want to go back anymore."
I don't want to go back to this how I was before.
Yeah.
Too
So,
kind. I was too nice.
yeah. A
You
lot of
know,
us were. So, but
people
yeah,
pleaser. So yeah.
good question. So,
All right. Thank you so much again.
of course, of course, of course.
I'm gonna lower my hand this time.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. You guys got anything else? We got about 8 minutes. What do you think? Any questions? Any questions? Oh, let me see. We got Alina. How are you?
Hello. Good, thanks. I
Good.
just have a question. I'm dealing with like there are certain things that trigger me. I've had a lot of panic attacks before, but luckily they've sort of subsided. But now there are certain situations that trigger them, and I'm fully aware of them. So, for example, I went back to work and I got back to the office sometimes, and when I'm in a meeting, anxiety starts kicking in. A
Mm,
panic, almost the start of a panic attack. But now because I have the awareness of it and I stay in my body and I know what's happening, it subsides, but it's still, I know it's going to happen. And I think I'm afraid because I'm in a social setting, I'm in a professional setting. I'm like, my brain goes, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? Like, I'm going to embarrass myself, like all
mm,
sorts of things. Like, I have to sit next to the door to calm myself down to know that if something happens, it's okay. You can just go outside for a minute and come back in.
mhm,
But it's just the anticipation of it. I guess there's like fear associated with that particular situation. And
mm.
I don't know, did you have anything like that or anything that was triggering to you and how you dealt with that
Yeah,
situation?
and here's the thing: the brain loves routine, right? So when you go into that meeting room, all it takes is one bad experience, one panic attack, one thing, and what your brain does is takes the camera, snapshot. Anything that looks remotely similar to that situation, your brain will protect you against. So every time you go back into that room, it's an association of your brain going, "Hey, this looks familiar. This looks like a picture I took a while ago, and this picture looks dangerous." And then you have a danger response when you go into the meeting room. So it's it's a matter of convincing your brain that that picture, that setting, that scenario, that environment was actually not dangerous. um, and how you do that is the same way you handle the symptoms. You have to be in that environment in real time, have the danger response trigger, because your brain's gonna say, "Look, we're in a meeting. This is dangerous, per what you've told me in the past." And you need to sit there and you need to elicit the safety emotions as it's happening in real time, saying, "Nah, no, it wasn't. It wasn't dangerous. Sorry, false flag, false alert. We're actually fine." And your brain's gonna try to hit you harder with it and be like, "You sure about that? You're sure?" And then it's gonna make it a little worse, and you're like, "Fine, not a big deal. Not a big deal. No problem." And we'll just chill. And the more you do that more often, this is how you handle a lot of anxiety, by the way, as well. Like generalized anxiety disorder. This is how a lot of it is approached as well. Um, the more often you do that, the more and more your brain backs off. So, like in the situation of meetings, you literally have to be in meetings and respond well. That's the only way to get your brain out of that danger response for the meetings. Does that make sense, Alina?
Yeah, no, it makes sense. What about visualizing? Because I was reading somewhere that, like I get the whole, yeah, exposing yourself to the trigger essentially,
Mm-hmm.
and well, that makes sense. But what about, I was reading somewhere that you can also visualize, for example, being in the meeting. And yeah, I don't know, I haven't tried it, but I was wondering, yeah, have you had any experience with that at
Oh,
all?
absolutely. Yeah, that's an extremely powerful tool for your brain. If I was you, hell, after the meeting, I would wait till everyone's gone. I'd take my phone out and I'd snap a picture of the room. And I would go home and like blow it up on my TV, and I'd try to elicit like safety emotions by like sitting there looking at that picture, hearing my favorite song, and like eating a good snack or something to elicit safety emotions whilst I'm looking at that visual. um
Yeah.
that would be like the most powerful thing you could do for your brain, probably, without actually being in the meeting itself, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, thank you. That sounds like a good idea. I'm gonna try it out.
Try it out. Yeah, you might be
Thank
surprised.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course, of course. What do you guys think? 4 more minutes. You want to touch on anything before I let you guys go? What day is it? Is it Monday or is it Thursday? I don't pay attention to the days anymore. Maria.
It's Tuesday in Australia.
Oh, Tuesday for you guys. Okay, so it's Monday for me. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, it's Monday. So, I know it recovery jumpstart is different because you have like this one-on-one coach and whatever, but we don't have that. We only have this 4 weekly calls, and
Mhm.
I think we're gonna get like a 30-day plan or something like that. I haven't received mine yet, so I don't know how to proceed.
Sure.
But I'm not sure how are we going to keep it moving forward towards progress
Hmm.
after we get this plan. Like, we're supposed to follow the plan that we received from the coach and then just discuss whatever is happening with our situation on these calls.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we would give you a roadmap call. I'd give
Uh-huh.
you like some detailed things of what I would like you to do for the next 30 days, and then
Uh-huh.
you would follow them. The tricky part becomes when your symptoms start to shift or you enter a new stage in recovery and then the approach needs to change.
Mhm.
That's when I would feel like one-on-one coaching is appropriate. But number one, the reason that I don't push Recovery Jumpstart is because I want it to be your guys' choice. And number two, I'm just going to be very transparent. It's really comprehensive and it's really detailed and it's very personal work because we talk to you guys every day, but it's really freaking expensive, you guys. Like, and I don't want to rip you off if you're not going to get the full experience. This is why we have like a we literally have a person on the team that says, is this actually going to benefit them? Like, is it actually going to be worth the money for them? Or are they just better off getting the guidance from Academy? There's very few people that would benefit from such comprehensive help, but usually it's the overthinkers, it's like the analyzers, it's the people that would really benefit from the one-on-one. And even then, like a payment plan would probably be your best option, but like I'm really invested in your guys' like recovery. So like if only if it's absolutely necessary would I even like suggest it in the first place, because it like rings deeply with me cuz I lost everything when I was sick. I lost my job, like I lost my car, I lost all my retirement on supplements. So when I see someone putting like essentially a down payment on a car on a program, like I really want it to be worth it and I really want you guys to get the most out of it. So we actually turn people away because we think it might not benefit you as much, because the whole point when you come in is I want you to come out fully recovered. And this is why Miguel has the 30-day guarantee as well, because some people might think it's for them and we might think it's for them too, and then 30 days comes around, they say, I don't need this much help. Actually, I think recovery is better for me if I could have all my money back and go into there. But Academy is good for the majority of you guys, because what most of you guys need is the 30-day plan, and then we can tweak your plan accordingly on these calls by you just asking questions. Because if you keep coming to the calls every week, I'll know your situation. I'll be familiar with where you're at. But I really don't sell the program. Number one, it's scummy to sell a program that's that expensive to people who are sick and don't have the resources if they genuinely don't need the help, because that comes off as disingenuous as well. And that's like the last thing we want you guys to feel about us. Like, I want you guys to believe that we know what we're doing. We know how this works. We know the science behind it, and we know how to get you guys out. but the comprehensive work is really for people who just need that select. If you really believe, Maria, that you might need that guidance, then reach out to me, and we'll have a chat. But for most of you guys, I'm telling you, like, you can recover from this program. I don't want you spending any more than you need to. For a lot of you guys, even this is a lot, because it would have been a lot for me too.
No, it's just that you said like the math ain't math for me. It's like you said, okay, recovery takes let's say 1-2 years, depending on if your nervous system responds well, or faster or slower. And then I will be paying, I don't know how much we pay for this every month, and it's gonna be for 1.5 years or 2. It ends up being more expensive than Recovery Jumpstart. And if I need that help all the way through, then like
then it would probably make more sense for you to do the Recovery Jumpstart. Because like when I see people like Paul, you're not going to need to be here for like 12 months. I would hope not. You know, maybe stay here for a few months. You're good. You don't need the full 6,500. I'm not going to sell it to you. You know, I wouldn't. You're probably not even allowed to be in Recovery Jumpstart if you applied. So, but for you, Maria, because if you did the math and if that makes more sense for you, then yeah, we can have that conversation for sure.
Yeah, but because I don't know, like I feel like I'm at a stage that it's like really the beginning of recovery. I'm still housebound, so I don't know how I'm going to respond, how long it's gonna take me. And then yeah, I was thinking that the other day. I was like, okay, I don't know how much time recovery will take for me, and I definitely don't want to rush it. Like I know it takes time, so
of course.
yeah. I was not sure if this is going to be, because I'm not at a stage, for example, where others are here in the program that are more functional. Maybe they just need like a few months to 6 months here, so it makes sense for them. But yeah, I don't know, I'll reach out to you.
Do we have a roadmap call, Maria?
What?
Do you have it with me? The 30-day.
No, I did have it with Adrienne a couple of weeks ago, but I haven't received my plan yet, so I'm still waiting.
Let me talk to Adrienne. Yeah, she's currently out on vacation, but I'll talk to her when she gets back. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want me to talk to Miguel about maybe setting you up with like an application call?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah. I'll have to think about it, because yeah, it's a lot of money, and
It is, yeah.
but this is gonna be a lot of money anyway, so
Okay. If you feel like it's the investment, I really don't want to push anybody.
it's okay. It's okay. Oh, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm getting a lot from this program, but yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I'm happy you're here. I'm happy all of you guys are here. Really, I am. So, and thank you for spending time with me. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you chose to be here with me tonight. So, thank you so much. We'll see you guys again in, what day is it? Hold on, let me check I genuinely don't know what day it is. Okay, it's Monday. It's Monday. So I will see you guys probably not Thursday, because we rotate. Krista will probably see you guys on Thursday, so I'll probably see you guys next week or something. All right? But until then, you guys take care of yourselves. Respond well. You know what to do. If you need me or anything, I'll be in the. I'll post some things in the chats, or if you have a question for me in school, just tag me or something. Be like @Junior. Like, hey, I got a question for you. If you got time, if you want to see this, I check those every now and then. All right. But until then, I'll see you guys later. Okay. Have a good day. See ya.
Thanks. Yeah.
Bye.